Today, it's all about small spaces that prove great design isn't about square footage, it's about vision. Today, we're taking you inside 4 gorgeous homes, and we're starting in Tennessee, where interior designer Olivia Shumate shows off her 900 square foot home that's richly layered and shaped by vintage finds.
And then a fun little trinket in here. I also have another little table over here, but it's a baking table. So it looks like somebody just was baking cupcakes and got up and left, which I just love.
Then we head to California, where writer and creative Caitlin Burnham of Visions by CLB transforms a 700 square foot apartment into a light-filled home guided by its original architectural details.
And then I have my iconic CLB Chateau matchbooks, which I love so much, and have those just kind of in a antique dish.
And in New York City, we're stopping by 2 places. The first, production designer Caity Birmingham tours her bold rental, layering graphic art, film memorabilia, and clever DIYs inside a Craigslist find that became permanent.
I just generally don't like overhead lighting that much. So even in this room alone, you can see there's 5 lamps, and I kind of just think like the same way that you create light in a movie and kind of pockets of interest and different colors of light and different textures of light is how I like to do it in my home as well.
And then we visit Ben Brougham, creative director at Jonathan Adler, who blends English antiques, mid-century Italian design, and fearless color inside his fabulous city apartment.
I have a few books on here, but really what took over is the collection of acrylic mushrooms from Jonathan Adler. This was something that we produced about a year ago now, I think we developed these. It was a genius idea of Jonathan's, and I was obsessed with them.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. A big thanks to Laundry Sauce for sponsoring today's episode. I used to fully dread laundry day, but Laundry Sauce has changed how I feel about this pesky chore. These are the Laundry Sauce detergent pods. They're super easy to use. You just toss one in, they're pre-measured, and they work in the machine, which makes life simple. But what really sold me is how well they clean. There's a bioenzyme blend in here that actually tackles stains, so everything comes out fresh and spotless. I also use the dryer sheets. They keep everything soft and eliminate static without any of that heavy chemical smell. And if I want the scent to last even longer, I add the in-wash scent boosters. They release fragrance throughout the wash, and my clothes smell incredible for days. It feels like such an upgrade to an everyday chore. Plus, the packaging is chic and eco-friendly, which I appreciate. If you want to elevate your laundry experience, scan the QR code on screen and use code HOMEWORTHY15 to save 15% off Laundry Sauce products and enjoy a better laundry day.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Olivia. Welcome to my home in Nashville, Tennessee. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in. I'm Olivia Shumate. I'm an interior designer and realtor. Welcome to my 900 square foot home in Nashville, Tennessee. My husband and I bought this house a month or 2 before we got married, and we have been here for 2 years. It had been sitting on the market for a while, and I remember we were scrolling through the MLS and we found it. We were like, what's wrong with this place? My husband's a contractor, so we ended up using basically everything that we could that was here, but renovating it quite extensively. We really loved the area. We're in East Nashville right now. We're super close to restaurants and bars and shops, and kind of a hyper-local neighborhood, which we really love. Welcome to my living room. This room has kind of come together over the years. It's been moved through multiple houses, except I did just purchase this 6-penny couch, which I was hesitant to buy because they don't have a showroom, at least in Nashville. So I had never sat on a 6-penny couch, but their branding and marketing was just so good that I fell into it, and I have absolutely zero regrets. Like, this is the best couch I've ever owned in my life. And we actually got it custom made for this space because it's kind of small. And they'll do that. They'll customize your couch size, which is so cool. And they don't charge any extra for it. So it's just kind of the price of a normal couch, but just whatever size you get. So we did that for here, and we picked this color Nectarine Dream because we are not like the most careful people. So definitely not the cleanest. And we have cats and pets and things like that. So picked this color that would kind of hide. It's not white, okay? We'll just say that. It's not gonna like show all of the dirt. And we love it. It's like very fitting for the space, actually. The coffee table is, I think it was actually like maybe some sort of cart or like school, something that like belonged at a school. It had wheels on it that we just ripped off to make it a little bit shorter to fit the couch. But it works great, and it's already distressed. That's the thing I love about old furniture, is that it's nothing precious. Like we're very not precious people, and we can't have precious things. So yeah, you can just like put your wet soda on it and it's not gonna leave a ring, or if it does, who cares? And then this dresser I got, it's like a beautiful burlwood veneer, which I really love. And it was from my neighbors. My parents' neighbors gave it to them. My parents had it for a long time. They gave it to me. The drawers don't really work, but we keep like linens and some holiday stuff in there. It's not very functional because it's behind the couch and we don't use it that much, but it works and it's perfect for where it is. I've always wanted a fireplace, so I was really excited that this house had one. But unfortunately we can't use it as it is, just due to they added like it used to be a bedroom over here, which is like so small, but it's now a bathroom. But there's not enough space in between the walls for it to function as a fireplace. One day I would really love to get a wood burning stove and like have an insert of a wood burning stove, like a little tiny one in here. But right now it's just decorative, but still I love the way it looks. It's a nice like focal point for the room. This is a rotating door. There's like always something new on the mantle. I got this at an estate sale. These little angels, these little cherubs holding my peach blossoms from the backyard, which is fun. This is a photo of my mom sleeping when she was a teenager. I don't know why I love that picture so much. And then this mirror came from, I think it was an old dresser. It was like on top of an old dresser. So we just took the brackets off. Again, I just found it, but it works really well for that space. This is probably my favorite thing in my entire house. It's this tiny little table. It's like Thanksgiving prep table. We have like some grouse. I don't know the plural of that. Little recipe book, little potato, turnips. It's just so cute. And then this lamp this sconce I got at a yard sale too, and dyed the shade blue. This is my favorite thing in my house. It's my original Howard Finster painting. Found this at an estate sale. I saw a picture of an artwork by his son on the estate sale picture. I didn't even see this. Like, I did not even see this. But I got to the house and me and like 3 other people were kind of like searching the house for anything Finster. And we were like asking the people that worked there. We were like referencing the photos for the paint colors of the rooms. Like we were running up and down the stairs. And one of the workers sent us to a back room upstairs. And we were all up there looking around, and I was like, I just gave up because I didn't want to fight anyone. I was like, I'm not gonna like go too crazy. So I walked down the stairs, and then I looked to the right, and this guy moved this giant envelope, and this was sitting under it. And I just paused and waited and like was gonna see if he was gonna grab the painting, and he didn't. So I like ran over to it, grabbed it, and I was like shaking at the cash register because I didn't want the people that like we were kind of in camaraderie over trying to find it. I didn't want them to know that I found it because I didn't want them to be sad. But yeah, I just got it. It was $18, biggest score of my life. Probably will never happen again. But then here we have some photos of my husband's parents when they got married, and then his mom down there. She passed away a few years ago, but those are just special pictures. And then this collage artwork from an artist that I really love as well. And then again, just like little things that were given, like my friend's mom gave my mom this lamp, and then my mom didn't have a place for it, so I took it. My neighbor growing up, like when I was like probably 11 years old, gave me this pillow. It's shabby chic, like Rachel Ashby shabby chic, really old, but I just love it. It's been in every house. And then these are from Etsy, these little pillowcases. They're directly from India, and they were great to work with. They helped me, let me change a few things, which was really cool. And then this is my vintage matchbook collection. And it also has just like matchbooks from restaurants in town or places that I've visited. I have a favorite matchbook. It's actually these that we had made for our wedding. It's like kind of a fun little souvenir. Nobody's ever grabbed one when they come over, but they totally could. Another little thing from my husband and I's wedding. One of my, I lived in New York for a summer, just like doing a bunch of internships, and went to a market and met this woman named Janie Korn and bought a candle from her. And I commissioned her to do this for our cake topper. It was us like in our wedding outfits, but this is probably my favorite souvenir from that day because it's us as young cuties forever. So that's a really fun thing to have. And then on this wall, that photo up top is by my friend and brilliant photographer, Mamie Heldman. Shout out if you're watching this. And then Harry Underwood is one of my favorite local artists. He does amazing work. I really want a giant painting of his one day. That would be my goal. I have a few little pieces of his. And then that is also from a local artist, and I got that from my mom as well. And then on this wall, I can show you, I'll take it down for you. This is my husband's incredible artwork as a child. I'm very proud of it. It's like one of the best collage works I've ever seen. Okay, so this is a painting by another local artist named Todd Green. And behind it, I keep this little card that came with it. It's actually a copy of the sermon that his dad wrote. I think I'm getting the story right. His dad couldn't read or write, so he like drew out his sermons in pictures. And so this painting is based on this little square. I can't remember what scripture it's based on at the moment, but it's really cool. And then that's just another, I think it's a child's artwork from an estate sale. This is the first piece of furniture, like new piece of furniture I ever bought. And I actually only have 4 of those, I think. But yeah, it was like, so I needed something to go under the TV. And again, it would be kind of a challenge. We could do it, but mounting the TV on this cement block wall was going to be a challenge. So we just needed something for it to sit on. And yeah, it's like the perfect piece. It's like mango wood, maybe. I can't remember what kind of wood it is, but it's interesting because it has these like weird spots, and it's just a very different kind of wood than I'm used to seeing, and I really liked it. And then above that, we have a little plate collection of a turkey, a pheasant, and some bunnies that are just cute to me. And then here, this is just a weird, every house has its like weird little stuff. Behind this, you'll find some weird little thing that I don't know what's going on there, but thankfully I have this brilliant LaCroix by Brett Douglas Hunter, another local dude, artist. So yeah, it just covers up that weird thing, so perfect. I think the key to living in a small space is having furniture that holds stuff. Like, for instance, we had a table next to the couch, like a normal person would have a table next to your couch, but we can't put anything in a table. So we like had to have a dresser there just to have storage for something. And then like this piece of furniture, for instance, it just like holds, I would not subject you to opening, like you don't want to see what's inside there. I'll just say that. But just having furniture with doors that will close and you can hide stuff is the key to having your things in a small space. I also have this is actually a Creative Co-op table. So really affordable. They have like, you can buy a really expensive version of these little iron tables, but like this version is just the best. This is my side of the couch, and I'm always having like, I don't know, a glass of water, a cup of tea, my little chocolate covered blueberries. Like there's always so much on this table, and it works so well, and you can just move it around really easily. So I think the beauty of working in a business where you're either like my husband being a contractor or like me working in real estate and interior design, like we are just so enthralled in the business of other people's homes. And this lamp, for instance, was a client's lamp that they no longer had space for, like that my husband was working on her house. So yeah, now it's our lamp, which is so amazing. It's like a really nice floor lamp, but it's one of our favorite things. The light it gives off is really nice. And we also got this door for this house as well. We really wanted an old antique door, which we probably could have sourced, but we just ended up ultimately just getting it made from a local place and then getting this amazing entry set from Signature Hardware. But I am obsessed with this. It's just such a nice feeling to lock and unlock the door. Just like feels amazing. This house is built in 1945. So it is very old, like its bones are very old. All of the walls are concrete block, which my husband being a contractor, it's actually something that he hasn't really had that much experience with, which was funny because it's just not super common and it's way too expensive to build houses like that these days. So it's actually pretty cool, kind of our own little tornado shelter. But yeah, it was built in 1945, but it had been like flipped and renovated several times. And by the time we got our hands on it, it had just gone through another flip. It was a disaster. It was like the classic story of like the cheap flip. The plumbing was like defying gravity, essentially. The kitchen had LVP and it was like an inch taller than the rest of the floor. So we ripped that out and my husband extended the hardwoods in there and then we added this arch. We like extended the kitchen out a little bit and added an arched opening to kind of add some separation in this small space since our like living and dining and kitchen's all in one room. But it made it feel a little bit more cohesive, but still adding that separation. And then the cabinets were just from Home Depot and we ended up just being able to repurpose them and not throw them out, even though I don't like them very much, but they do a great job for what they are. But we've made them look like super cozy and we chose like some pretty affordable finishes. Yeah, basically everything we did was super budget friendly because that's all we could do after getting married and buying a house. But we're really happy with it. It's super cozy. And now we'll go into our dining room, which is just a few steps away. Welcome to our dining room. It actually has also evolved quite a bit. My house is constantly changing. I cannot ever keep anything the same. I have to mix it up all the time. And I'm very thankful for Facebook Marketplace for that. So we had a table in the center here. We had a square table with chairs, but ultimately felt like we needed to edit that for the ease of flow in this space and just like being able to travel through easily. So we found this pew on Facebook Marketplace. It was actually I think it was over 11 feet long. It was like a very long dogwood pew from a church in Ohio, I think. And we drove to East Tennessee and picked it up. And I thought it was gonna be easy. We could just miter it and make it a corner bench and it would be no problem. It was actually very difficult ultimately, just given all of the angles, because we have this and then you had this and then it was just so many angles involved. My husband figured it out after the whole Saturday, but yeah, it worked out so amazing. I have no idea how he did it, but it's a really good miter, I'll say. And then we got this table from my sister who got it on Facebook Marketplace and didn't have a place for it. I really don't like the top very much, so we put this tablecloth on it for now. Kind of a good, just it'll probably change in no time too. And then I almost took these off before you guys came here, but I did attempt to make my own bench cushions. For now, they will work. I've reached out to a few upholstery people, but yeah, I just am not a seamstress, I'll say that. But the fabric is cute and I got it at an antique store, so it's cute. And then we have chickens in the backyard and this is kind of where I keep their eggs when I collect them until the bowl fills up, but you can keep eggs out on the counter for a long time, so we just kind of keep them there until it's time to wash them. But yeah, and then these chairs, just mix match. Just got this one, little rolly wooden chair, actually really comfy, so I like that one. And then for the artwork in here, again, just things that I've gotten over the years. This one I actually went out of my way and ordered on Etsy because I really liked the colors. It's a Swedish mid-century oil painting, and it's just picture of a pail, but I liked the color. And then this is a picture of my grandma, 1939, school days is what it says, but I like that picture. And then my husband rides motorcycles, so we have that little motorcycle gang up there from, I don't know, yesteryear. Don't know what year that's from. And then this cool old still life also from who knows what. I don't know where that's from. And then we just recently added this pendant here when we moved the table over because we wanted to kind of anchor it a little bit more, you know, give it more placement over here. And we added this pendant from Green Row, which I like, but it'll probably change, but I like it. And then on this side of the dining room is storage. So again, have to have a piece of furniture that can hold all my stuff. So I have this thing that I got on Facebook Marketplace. It kind of reminds me of a piece of furniture that Duval sells and makes in England, but it has like a beadboard back, but I really like it. It's a nice hutch and it holds like literally so much stuff, especially under here. It is like so used. And then a fun little trinket in here. I also have another little table over here, but it's a baking table. So it looks like somebody just was baking cupcakes and got up and left, which I just love. I don't know why. Couldn't tell you why I love these little tables so much, but I do. And then this goose, I'm obsessed with. I like genuinely can't think of anything that is more me than this guy. I think I got it for like $20 at an antique store just outside of Nashville. So I'm a huge fan of that guy. And then I have a few like long burger baskets. I think they were like really popular in the 90s. My mom had a million, so these are her old baskets. And then if you spend much time on Pinterest, you've probably seen this guy. It's one of the doozy lamps from Etsy. And I ordered it. It came from China. Took like 2 months, but it's really cute and it is just like a little charming lamp. And then over here is my coffee station, coffee and tea. Got my little espresso maker. I make a tea every night from High Garden. It's like a local tea company that you can order online. I recommend you do. It's the best tea in the world in my opinion. But they make really amazing herbal blends and I do that every single night. And then I have my plate wall over here. I actually got this duck platter for my mom for Mother's Day. And it ended up back in my possession somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. And then I love this like folk artist, Grandma Moses. I have a few prints of hers, but these plates are both Grandma Moses prints, paintings in plate form, which I really love that too. And then these are just 2 old antique plates. Nothing really goes together, but it works. So originally when this house was built in 1945, there was a wall here. And then this was the kitchen. So it was like a truly tiny kitchen. But by the time we got it, again, that wall was gone. There's just like a header plate there that we made look like a column or a beam. But we decided to make the kitchen just a little bit bigger and added this little arched wall with these sconces on it for a little romance at night. But I think it's a nice way to separate the spaces. I started working for a luxury real estate team here in Nashville a little over 4 years ago. So I have a lot of experience in a lot of really beautiful homes, which kind of inspired me in a way, like beyond my my personal taste and my kind of constant redecorating of my own house. But being in these homes, and like my sister was a wedding planner or is a wedding planner, we kind of decided to come together and start an interior design business. So I still have like 1 foot in the door in real estate, and then I'm, half real estate, half interior design at this point. But right now we're working on a lot of new construction and renovations and things like that. And it's just so much fun to be able to help people bring their visions to life and help them make the choices to bring that personality, their own personality, into their homes. It's a very fun process. And then when we're designing new construction homes, it's been really important to us to add character into those homes so that when people buy them, they're not like immediately feeling like they need to like throw out the vanity light or whatever. Like they buy the house as it is and they feel the character that already exists there. Like that's really important to us, to create a little bit of personality in those houses. So yeah, that's where my career has been heading over the past year. This year has been our first year in business in design, so it's been so fun. It's been like a whirlwind. We're very busy, which is amazing. Okay, I'd love to show you the kitchen next. Welcome to my kitchen. When we bought this house, it just had a few Home Depot cabinets and then some appliances that, you know, didn't make too much sense. But we really decided we didn't want to waste anything because we are like, our goal is maybe next year or someday to be able to afford some custom cabinetry in here. So there was no need to buy or do anything that we couldn't afford at the time. So we really wanted to reuse the Home Depot cabinets that were here. And I think we accomplished that pretty well. So we kept what was existing. We just updated the hardware. These are from Lee Valley Tools, which is a really great place to find affordable, unique door hardware. So we upgraded the cabinets with that, and I think it makes it look a little bit more charming. This piece we got from, it kind of works as an island, which is so lucky to me. It's the perfect size for this kitchen, and it gives us just a little bit more counter space because this space is really small. And we got this at an antique store. And again, it's like one of those things that is just so not precious at all. Like we spill water on it every single day. And it is in great condition and it'll probably stay with us for the rest of our lives. We love it. And for countertops, again, we were just looking for affordable. So we just went with butcher block. We did it all ourselves, which is like one of the many benefits of butcher block. And it adds a nice warmth. So I really like that too. And then for our sink, I got this on Facebook Marketplace. It's terrible. It is awful. It was blue when we got it, and then I got somebody else on Facebook to refinish it. And I do think that ultimately was a mistake. I think I probably could have just bought a new sink with how much money I spent refinishing it, but we tried to use an old one. I like the way it looks. It just is chipped and scratched and just does not function like I wish it would, but that's okay. This is just a Kingston brass faucet. And then we have this copper backsplash that we just got at an estate sale, and we just cut it to fit here, and it kind of just catches the water and will oxidize even more over time. This is just where we keep our mugs and cups and things. This shelf is also from an antique store. And then it's just nice because I really am a little particular about what mugs that I buy. Everything is handmade, and I really try to have them all related to travel or like places that we've been. So like I would say like 80% of these mugs are from our travels, except for these Bennington pottery ones are made in Vermont by Bennington potters, and I just collect that pottery. So yeah, this is a pig from a 1930s butcher shop specifically. And I love folk art again, and I just think it's like so goofy and cute, and it's perfect for our kitchen. And then we have just a bunch of random stuff here, you know. I got another Longenberger basket. This is where I keep my dirty dish towels. And then I really like little hand brooms, so little hand broom collection in enamelware. I love enamelware. And then over here, this house came with like a glass cooktop range, the cheapest one, you know, from Home Depot. And I just never liked anything about it. Definitely not a dream. But our neighbor was giving away this one, and we ended up just trading it out, which most people, I don't know if most people would agree with me that they like coil electric cooktops better, but if you're doing electric, but I just like really love them because you can, like, if you're cooking something with cast iron, or, you know, you just don't have to worry about it breaking, and you don't have to worry about scraping off like the grease with a razor or whatever you have to do with the glass cooktop. So I really love this one for some reason. I don't know. It just fits the vibe more maybe. And then here we have our $3 Rembrandt print. And behind it is actually the electrical panel, because this is such an old house. That's just, it predates the electrical codes. So yeah, panels in the kitchen. So just kind of a sneaky way to hide that. And then this is a medicine cabinet that was in my parents' powder bathroom growing up. They ended up taking that out of their house, and this was just in the shed, and I like grabbed it when we were renovating. Oh, something's gonna fall out. But now it's just a spice cabinet. We ended up building it in because there was a door here, but our neighbor's driveway is right there, so there's really no point of us to be able to like walk out into our neighbor's driveway. So we just took out the door and put this little medicine cabinet in, so it's super fun. And then we added these sconces from Etsy on either side. And then we did these open shelvings. This is some Doug fir that my husband had left over from a project. And we just sliced it up and made it into some shelves with, again, mostly handmade potteries, like what I prefer to have, just like, you know, anything that has character in it. It makes it way more fun to eat off of. So yeah, try to do everything handmade. Except for obviously a few things. I go through phases of baking, I would say. I went through, a sourdough phase like most people, but not a huge baker, honestly. But I do use that probably like once a week, one way or another. I find a way to use that mixer. I love the color, and it kind of coordinates with the sconce. And then this, we ran out of cabinets, and we didn't want to buy more. And my husband just built this like little corner situation. Our microwave is actually under there, but this is an old tablecloth that I just made into this little cafe curtain, and that's where we store our like kitchen pots and things like that. And then we have like a million magnets and junk on this side of the fridge. And this is our spaceship fridge that really doesn't fit into this kitchen at all. It's like way modern, but actually kind of like that about it. I don't know. It's like the nicest thing that we own, possibly. Love this thing. And then for pantry storage, again, storage is an issue in this house. So we just found this old cabinet at an antique store again, and just made it our pantry storage. So we keep all of our food in here. And then, yeah, that's kind of the kitchen. I think my personal style has evolved over the years quite a bit, but it really started just in childhood. Growing up, like my mom was a very creative home decorator. She loves to paint and do all sorts of arts and crafts. And our neighbors growing up were artists and have really unique homes. And I think just like being in those homes growing up and like having that as like a foundation for what makes a home feel like a home really has helped me develop my own sense of style. Nothing that I ever buy, I'm ever thinking about like what it will go with. I'm just purchasing it or like finding it, getting it, whatever, making it even, just based on what I like, and then kind of just piecing it all together. It's very collected. I won't even say it's curated, even though I guess technically it is. And just based on, it's kind of like a patchwork quilt almost. Just a bunch of different things that I enjoy. And my husband, thankfully, is also inspired by a lot of things that I like as well. So, and also thankfully he's not so opinionated that he won't let me keep the weird stuff. Sometimes he, has his feelings about things, but we make it work. And I like a lot of stuff, but not too much stuff. And I'd love to show you my bedroom next. Welcome to our bedroom. Betty has decided to join us here. But yeah, this room is not massive, as you can imagine, but it works for us right now. This bedspread I really love from Etsy. It goes all the way to the floor, which again, storage. It allows us to hide some like baskets under the bed. And then this painting my mom did actually. So when she was young, she did that painting. And then by the bed, we have that tiny Amazon thing that's actually, it's like an Alexa, but it's my tiny TV at night. So not quite as gaudy as a big TV, but yeah, It is the perfect little sidekick. These pillows are also from Etsy, and then these are from a family friend. And then this was actually a yellow duvet once upon a time, and then over the, like, mustard yellow no longer was my exact taste, so ended up dyeing it green. I actually want to dye it another color again, but yeah, that's the beauty of buying linen, because you can really change the color quite frequently. And then this, we have like just some random, you know, old things in here mixed with this new dresser that we keep all of our clothes in, of course. This little sconce was from just a thrift store. And then we went to Sanibel Island over, I think, last fall, and found this giant shell on the beach. So this is like my prized possession, really, because I don't know where I'm gonna find that ever again. So that's my little reading light over there is from, it was either Crate and Barrel or CB2, but it's a great little light that it just plugs into the wall, so it makes it easy to hang and kind of take anywhere. That print above my mini TV is another Howard Finster print. I think that's Elvis again. The one out there is Elvis, I forgot to mention. And then that deer plate is from a neighbor as well. And then we have my old shoe trunk here. And my closet in this room, it when we bought the house, it didn't have doors. And it was actually, I think, a laundry room. There were laundry hookups in there. So what we did was just add a like curtain rod and some IKEA storage things, and we just put this curtain floor to ceiling to kind of make it look a little bit more elegant. But yeah, it works as like a great closet. There's tons of storage in there for me. And then we have another, that's the water heater closet over there, but it's enough room for at least my husband to keep like some clothes in there. So basically all the rugs in this house have come from eBay. I have like one seller on there specifically that I am very loyal to. Now I'll show you my bathroom. Okay, so this was quite a transformation from when we purchased the home. It actually was, the toilet was, or I think the sink was here, the toilet was here, and then the bathtub was in this alcove, and it was a tub shower combo. I think that the tub was like a foot tall for some reason. So we ended up taking all of that out, and the vanity was oversized. Like, this is a very narrow space. So the vanity that was here was oversized, and it was just a little clunky. We did the Zalige tile in here. My husband laid it, he figured it out. Looks great. And then we got this like tiny little pedestal sink, which is the perfect size for right here. And we put in a medicine cabinet. So when we took the mirror down, we realized it was a medicine, or there was like space for a medicine cabinet back here. It was ultimately kind of tough to find the right size. So we did end up jackhammering the wall opening just a little bit, which was quite a scene to fit this medicine cabinet. So that worked out. And then we put the tub here so that when you walk in, you can just like have a really nice view of this beautiful clawfoot tub that we got on Facebook Marketplace. We got it so small originally because we thought it was going to fit into this space where the existing tub was, but it actually just works out because then we have a bookshelf behind the tub now for additional bathroom storage. And then we got this system from Vintage Bath and Tub, which is perfect. Like, it works so well. I really love that. And then we got this just from my parents' house. I think it was like it's certainly from a thrift store. But it works as just a nice like extension of the sink. Since I don't have anywhere to put like any makeup or anything, like it's a little bit of a workstation. And this little chair I got at the thrift store, and it holds my rings, but it also is a good iPhone stand for when I'm in the bathtub. I just will put my phone on it. And then I have my salts for my baths that I take every single day. And then this shower curtain, we wanted it to be long to the floor. I ended up just finding that on Amazon actually. But it works really well and kind of adds some romance. This rug is actually from Etsy. It's the only rug in the house not from eBay. And then we have another Harry Underwood painting here. I also color drenched this room in a very like light baby pink. So it's almost white, but it's just a little warm. And I really love the color. It's perfect. Okay, and I'd love to show you my office as well. Okay, so this is our office. It could be one day a guest room, but for now, it's our home office. It's just a nice place for us to get work done. It's very, definitely a lot of like craft things going on in here. Like I have a bunch of fabrics and my sewing machine there. And this piece of furniture was actually given by my great grandparents to my parents when they got married. There's like Sharpie on the back that's like a little note to them. It's sweet. So this kind of works as our linen closet in this space. Holds like our old pillows and things like that. And then I have this little table set up for kind of just like a lot of paint samples and like trying to figure out colors and fabrics and wood tones for some projects that we're working on at the moment. This is just where I sit literally every day, all day. The light, it's really nice to be by the window. I do feel like I get some vitamin D, so it doesn't feel like I'm so indoors. This I just got at a yard sale. I really love this lamp. These are just like some random things that I've collected over the years. This is a portrait of Patsy Cline by an artist, I believe in Kentucky, called Billy Lilly, and I really love that. This pendant light is one that I've wanted for years. It's from Pearson Ward, which is a design duo. They're based in Nashville and LA. They're like who I want to be when I grow up, basically. But yeah, I bought this pendant on sale. And I originally got it, I haven't even touched on this, but like next year we're going to be adding an upstairs in this house, believe it or not. That's the goal. And there will be like a primary suite up there. And this is going to go above my bathtub. Like that's my plan. But for now, it's in here. And I really love it. It's like kind of it's just very unique and I love it. And it's like worth every penny to me. I'm obsessed with it. We went with this green color in here. I don't know. I go back and forth with it. Like, honestly, it's probably something that's going to change too over time. But yeah, I do like this green. It's just I can't even remember what color it is. But it's great for what this room is now. I really love it. And then right off my office, actually connecting basically everything is this tiny little hallway. And this was a piece of art that I purchased for myself right when I think I graduated college, or I think it was when I graduated college. But it's by an artist, Kinda Coletti, and she just does like some really fun paintings. And I love that. That's like, this is another like really special piece to me. And then my friend Brooklyn made this for my husband and I when we got married. It's just a collage of like little things that are personal to us and really special. Like I think I'm gonna copy her and do that as gifts for people because that's just so special. And then this is a portrait of Odette and Betty that I got for Christmas one year by her name is Leah Gorin. She did pet portraits. I like followed her on Instagram, and she did pet portraits around the holidays one year. So yeah, that was my Christmas present. It's Odette and Betty. They actually are not friends, but they look like they're friends in this photo, and that is why I love it so much. I think home is just where you feel good. Like I think you can have a home anywhere as long as you have people who you love around and you can kind of have a system or a community. I think that's what makes home. I think for me personally, like I think this house, we bought it as a house. We made it a home, obviously, but it's actually temporary. Like we are going to be like renovating a lot of this stuff, but the things that we kept in it and the way that we have it set up now feels like home. It is so important to me to feel good in my space, or else I will not be able to function as a human being. So I have to be surrounded by things that really inspire me and make me feel like I can get stuff done. Like if I'm just in a place that I don't feel comfortable in, I'm not a functioning human being, honestly. Okay, Homeworthy, thanks for stopping by my home in Nashville, Tennessee, but you have to go now. Bye.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Caity. Welcome to my Brooklyn apartment. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Caity Birmingham. I'm a film and TV production designer, and we're in my apartment here in Brooklyn, New York. I came out here to work on a film, and I had very little with me. I basically brought a 4x8 trailer filled with paintings and lamps because those are the important things. I was staying in a hotel, and every weekend I would come to the city from upstate and search for an apartment. And it was a very stressful process, as anyone who has rented in New York probably knows. And I eventually checked out Craigslist, and I found a listing for this place. Craigslist, very old school way to find an apartment. And as soon as I walked in here, I just felt like it was the right place. I love the high ceilings, I love the wood floors, I love the sort of strange but charming layout, and it just felt like a good spot to be. So I immediately, as you know, you have to jump on it when you find a spot in New York, so I immediately grabbed it. I took a lot of furniture from the film that I had worked on just to kind of give myself a base layer. A lot of what is here is still from that movie, and I built from there, and I had about a month off of work after that film, and I treated it like my job to decorate this place. Hello, welcome to my living room. I want to just show you my color-blocked French doors here. This idea was sort of inspired by movies, both because these are used in lighting to create different colors, but also I have done this in a film before where we had kind of a big bank of windows and we wanted to create a little visual interest, so we added some colored panels, and I think it just kind of gives the French doors, which are already kind of beautiful and special, a little bit something extra and adds color, which clearly I enjoy. So this is the room that when I walked into the apartment, I just was like, I have to live here. The ceiling height, the windows, the morning sunlight, this beautiful marble fireplace doesn't actually work, obviously, like they never do in New York, but it's very charming, and it kind of creates a focal point for the room. A lovely mantle for me to put all my little things on. And also I love the molding that was already here. It's so interesting and kind of special. And even though, you know, there's a little bit of that landlord special of like 20 layers of paint and whatever color they happen to have in the basement, but I think that the details still shine through and they feel really special and kind of charming to me. So that's what made me want to live here. This, you know, was kind of an empty, dead space because it's not a working fireplace. It's a little bit like ugly in there, you might say. And so it actually was all like barricaded off with a piece of cheap plywood when I moved in. And I've seen people kind of decorate that front piece, like having a blocked off piece here and either painting it or just keeping it nice and clean and tidy. But of course, I wanted to use every inch and I am sort of interested in the idea of like shrines. I grew up Catholic. I'm sort of into some of that iconography, and I created a little shrine here. So I think it's an interesting way to use an unused fireplace. And actually I posted about this when I first decorated it. I put the wall tile and the floor tile on it, and then these stars and things, and they kind of like move around in the breeze and sparkle, and it's kind of magical. And I put this on Instagram, and it was like the first post I've ever done that went a little bit viral. So that was kind of funny and exciting. When I am working on location out of town, I'm always looking for little interesting things to take home with me, souvenirs that either we use in the movie or that I find from local artists. This was one such thing I found in Milwaukee from an artist I really like. And it's like kind of a planter made of shells and cement, very strange and special. There's a number of artists here who are kind of throughout my home because I love them so much. One is Esther Pearl Watson. She makes sparkly UFO art, kind of folk art style, about her childhood, and there's always pink sparkly UFOs in it, and I just love that so much. So this is one that's actually a Post-it. There's a Post-it show in Los Angeles where wonderful artists sell their artwork on small 3x3 Post-its for about $20 each. And so I collected that maybe 15 years ago. And then another artist that's very prevalent in my home is Nathaniel Russell. This piece above the TV is his. And really, truly, like, every wall has something of his. Like, this is his as well. And another one is Martha Rich. She makes these speech bubbles with writing on them. I think a lot of phrases that she kind of overhears in the world, and then she puts them on these bubbles. I have probably 8 or 10 of them in my house. I just think they're really cool. Another artist that is throughout my home is named Mark Johnston, and he makes art out of recycled cans. And he actually made me these candle flames out of LaCroix cans. It was a special request from me. I wanted him to try it, and he made them for me. And he also made this one on barnwood with some aluminum cans, and there's a number of pieces throughout that I'll point out. This is a lamp I brought from LA, obviously very important. I had a 4x8 trailer, and this is the kind of thing I chose to put in there. It's something I got at a thrift store in the Valley in Los Angeles, and I just thought it was weird and great, and I think I have a bit of an affinity for like 70s and 80s style, and this to me feels very 70s. It's kind of just in a weird random spot right now, but I do like how it creates a pocket of light in a different kind of shape over here in this corner. I just generally don't like overhead lighting that much. So even in this room alone, you can see there's 5 lamps, and I kind of just think like the same way that you create light in a movie and kind of pockets of interest and different colors of light and different textures of light is how I like to do it in my home as well. So I have all my lamps on right now, even though it's daytime. If this were a movie, I would roll my eyes because usually you want things to feel, real in the way people live their lives. But I do want you to see them all lit up, and also it's been a very cloudy day until just now. I think every lamp in this room does something different and kind of provides different colors and textures to the space. I would describe my style as vintage inspired and eclectic, and basically I really like everything, so it's very hard for me not to take things home with me. I would also say I feel this way both in my work and my life, that shopping secondhand is really important to me, not just for sustainability reasons, although that is definitely part of it, but I mean, things that were made a long time ago were made better. And if they're still around, it's because they've stood the test of time. You want things to feel like part of the world, and you're bringing them home to make them part of your own world, but I think it's great when they bring a story and a history of their own. I was looking for a comfy chair to read in by the window, and I found this guy on Facebook Marketplace, and I think it's kind of got an 80s, 70s, 80s vibe, and the pattern at first glance doesn't go with anything else that's around it. The pillows are kind of wacky, the curtain and the chair kind of clash, there's a geometric thing going on with the carpet, but you know what? I firmly believe that if you like your stuff, it's gonna look good together. And people are like, how do you put all these colors and patterns together? And I'm like, I just put things I like in the same room, and then I like the whole room. That's just how it works. And I think you can really trust yourself to find things that excite you and that feel cozy and homey and interesting to you, and then your whole space will come together. I needed curtains for these very tall windows, and so I found this Indian printed cotton fabric on Etsy, and I just sewed them myself very simply, not particularly well, but it does the job. This stained glass piece is one of my favorite things I've ever found on a project. It was actually when we were shopping for Sorry Baby. We filmed that movie up in Boston area, North Shore of Boston, and we were scouring Facebook Marketplace for special interesting items, and we bought this to put in the window of the cottage in the film. And actually we ended up cutting it from the movie because they wanted to shoot through the window and it was in the way. But I was like, I'm gonna take that guy home with me. So I think it's actually it just makes so much sense in my home, and I think that it was just meant to be mine. This is a print, I think it's called The Green Lady by Tretyakov, and it was widely printed in like, I think the 50s and 60s, so it's super mid-century, and it was kind of part of this wave of like mass-produced art. I found this one at a flea market up in Northern California when I was working on a film there, and I think she's really interesting, and I think this is an original print, and it has, even though it's a print, it has like a lot of, I don't know, it has a lot of soul to it, I guess, and the frame's all messed up and it's like water damage, and I just think it's really interesting and fun. I would call this sofa temporary. I like it a lot. I found it on Facebook Marketplace, but it's not really a sofa. I think that's a generous term for it. It's more of a little love seat settee, and it's not great for lounging and watching television. I do think it's very cute, and I think it's genuinely old. It's from the 50s. It has a stamp on the bottom that says like who made it in the 1950s. So I think that's very cool, and I like how it feels in the space. This is also a bit of an awkward room because there's a lot of things going on the walls. There's many doors, there's windows that are low, and then there's this fireplace. So actually finding a wall to put a sofa on is kind of a trick, and I think this is a door that I do not use that goes to the hallway, so technically I could cover it up with a couch, but it feels a little bit strange to do that. So I haven't quite figured out a long-term solution here yet, but I do like the way this feels in the space. It kind of has a little bit of a Golden Girls vibe, which I have to say, always an inspiration style-wise. This piece of art here is by my friend Amber Fletchock, who I went to college with actually, and she makes really beautiful dynamic collages out of magazines and other kind of vintage paper and materials, and she gifted me this, and I was like, I'm gonna feature it always forever in my home in a prime spot. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't know why I love this coffee table so much. It's very funny actually. I bought it in graduate school when I was in Chicago at a thrift store for $10. It was exactly like this, all scarred up with the paint job that it currently has, and it's really gigantic. It's kind of like weirdly tall and weirdly big, and you know, it takes up a lot of space in this room, but I do use it as a workspace sometimes, and I also I kind of like the proportions of it. I think it's funny and interesting, and I didn't bring it to LA with me, but my uncle had stored it for me, and on my way driving across the country, I picked it up and brought it to my new place. And I've had it for probably 15 years, but I haven't been using it all the time. I do sometimes think how this room would feel with a smaller coffee table, and maybe when I change out the sofa, I might change out the table as well. But for now, I just think it kind of is an interesting statement and a cool center of the room. So this is one of those awkward things about a New York apartment where you kind of have a door that you don't need and that is taking up valuable wall space. I'm not saying I have a great solution for it right now, but I did, use it as a place to hang some more art. This is a beautiful hand-painted item by an artist named Leslie Ann Numbers, who I think she's from the Midwest, and I follow her on Instagram. I really think it's charming and cool, and this is a poster from the Folk Art Museum in Santa Fe, which is one of my favorite museums in the world. I do kind of have the door blocked by this little table, but I don't know what the long-term solution here is. It's just kind of an awkward space to make sense of. This column I find very funny, and I actually purchased it for a music video I did for Caity Bryant was the director, and we just kind of got to do a lot of kitschy, funny, weird little tableaus and setups for the video, and this featured prominently in the video, and now I had to obviously take it home with me. Here's my 15-year-old television. I very rarely use it, but I think it's nice to have. It's often hidden behind this door here. I get a lot of screeners for my job, so every year I get like 20 or so movies to watch at home, so I just kind of pile up, but it's nice to have them for future viewing. So we've made our way around the living room. This is a room that some people might use as their bedroom, but I kind of liked it to be more of a public space and a workspace. So I live on the second floor of, it's sort of a brownstone style building, but it's not as picturesque outside as a brownstone might be. But it's got basically 3 apartment units in it, one on the first, second, and third floor. So I have the entire second floor. And I believe this used to be a single family home. Actually, my landlords told me that they raised their family in this house. And so it has since been converted to 3 flats, and the layout is interesting. There's a central staircase, and then my apartment has 3 doors that go out to the staircase, which of course takes up a lot of wall space and is a little inconvenient because I don't actually need 3 doors. So I only use one, the one in the kitchen. And I have a bathroom and a kitchen over here. I'm in the middle room right now, which is the only room that doesn't have windows. And then this would maybe be used as a dining room or even a bedroom. I've heard people say, why don't you use this as your bedroom? It's kind of like, you know, private and cozy and in the middle of the apartment. But then I have a living room here, and then finally a tiny little bedroom. It's about 6 by 9 feet. And I chose to put my bed in there because I like a little cozy nook that's a little out of the way, and I like for the main part of the apartment to be usable kind of space for working and space for visiting with people, and so that was my choice that I made. I think other people would have made one of these other rooms into the bedroom potentially. Welcome to my office workspace. This is a room kind of in the middle of the apartment, so it doesn't have any windows, but it has a lot of light coming from both sides. And I feel like a lot of people would make this into the dining room or maybe even their bedroom. And I just wanted it to be, I've always wanted a workspace office that I could really like actually spend time in and surround myself with things that kind of inspire me and that are useful to me, my tools. I do computer work here when I work from home. I do collage work here when I'm kind of not actively working on a project. I like to have sort of my own projects going on here. I like this work table. It's very long and has a lot of room to spread out. Sometimes I'll get my sewing machine out and do sewing projects here. So it's very usable space actually. In my space in Los Angeles, I had a second bedroom and it had sort of an office vibe, but to be honest, it was more like a dressed set. Like I created it to look like an office, but I didn't actually use it. I feel like that's kind of a hazard of my job, is sort of to make things very presentational and sort of like, this is what this space is supposed to be used for. But I actually do use this room a lot. I spend so much time in here. And I really love all the things that I surround myself with in this room. Let's start in the corner. So I always like to have a bulletin board. I think this like really lends itself to my sort of nostalgic 70s, 80s kind of style interest. So I got all my little collectible items here, pins and things like that. This mask is a paper mache mask from the 80s by an artist named Gina Tro, I believe is the pronunciation. And she made a lot of like very colorful paper mache masks in the 80s, and it has such a specific style to it that I think really fits right in over here. So these speech bubbles are by the artist Martha Rich. I have quite a few of her pieces around my apartment. Not only speech bubbles, although many of them are. I just find them really charming and interesting. This piece is the #1 thrift store holy grail find of my entire life. It's a 1970s Utensilo wall organizer made by, I believe, by Vitra was the company. And it was kind of part of that mid-century 60s, 70s fabricated plastic style item kind of trend. And it was on my wish list forever in this particular color as well. It comes in like cream and like kind of less bright colors as well. But this was truly on my list of things to find or one day own, and it was way out of my price range. And I went to a Goodwill in Van Nuys, California, and it was just like leaning against the back wall with a bunch of paintings in front of it. And I truly like almost fainted. And I like had to immediately take it up to the front counter and purchase it and put it in my car before I could like even do anything else. So this cost me $20. And it's truly like such a cool focal point in the room. It's so fun for creating a workspace and actually having useful items on hand. And I just think visually it's like very cool and really speaks to my overall design aesthetic. This tiny chair is from the show Joe Pera Talks With You. In our 3rd season, there was a story about him learning how to build a chair. And at the end of the show, he had all these tiny chairs made for the crew. So I will always remember that. This is by the artist Mark Johnston. He makes a lot of like kind of nature-inspired art out of recycled materials. This one's made out of chewing tobacco cans. I really like the way that he uses materials that would otherwise go to waste, and also kind of like using the qualities like the typeface, the design, and also the shine of the aluminum to make something that seems really special. This clock is every hour is cool. This is from the website Society6, where a lot of artists sell their work and they make different products out of it and print it on different items. And I just thought having a clock where every hour was cool seemed like a good vibe. I found this number 5 at a really great store upstate in Kingston called Kingston Consignments. I found a lot of my favorite thrifted items in New York at that place. And I think what appealed to me about it is that it reminded me of like the 70s design books that I loved. Actually, ever since I was a kid, I would like pore over like home decorating books from the 70s and 80s. So clearly that has had an effect on me. But I feel like there was this office that would be like photographed in these books where people would just have these super graphic, like big, like numbers and letters. And as soon as I saw this at the store, I was like, I gotta incorporate that. It goes with my wall organizer, and it's kind of giving this whole feeling of like a 70s workspace, which I find very cool. I have a lot of stuff. Like there's layers and layers of things collected here. I do a lot of collage work, so I literally collect like bits of paper. So you kind of have to be organized in order for that not to become a total chaotic nightmare. So I have like all of these labeled bins down here with like different useful items for crafting, and for also I use them in my work, like vinyl letters. We use a lot in filmmaking to, you know, change or add to a location. So once again, you see my love of artwork with text on it and graphic design. This is an introductory ethic for designers by Rick Griffith, who's a designer, and it is really about graphic design and working as a graphic designer, like in the corporate world. And but I think it extends to my kind of design, production design, and it just kind of has a lot of good notes for living and for working. This is another piece by Mark Johnston, who makes all of the artwork out of recycled materials. And this is a piece that, a movie I did probably 15 years ago. The production designer I was working with, we used this dresser in the movie, and then he took the front off the drawer and made me this so that I would always remember the dresser, because it was really cute, but it was kind of broken. So he kind of made something new out of it, which I love. Here, it's just a lot of like thrifted, kitschy, collectible things, but I feel like I like how they all come together. And these are like kind of reference books that I like to keep close to me when I'm working. This piece here is by Nathaniel Russell, who I have many of his pieces throughout my apartment. I just find him really inspiring. Both content and kind of the message of his work is really lovely and hopeful and funny and interesting. A lot of times something I do in movies, which I've taken into my own life, is to cover things in vinyl if they're not the color I want them to be. So this table actually, it's kind of coming off because I use it a lot, but it used to be sort of a green laminate, and I covered it with this contact paper vinyl. And I think when you're living in a rented space and kind of adapting to what's here, and you don't necessarily have money to get the exact perfect finish on everything that you want, that's a really quick way to do it that can really change the feeling of a piece if you cover it in vinyl. So these little guys remind me of my time on this show called Comedy Bang Bang. I was the designer on it for about 70 episodes. And in season 5, we did a redesign of the studio. And I was looking out for like funny, interesting little knickknacks to have on the shelves behind the host and behind the musical act. And these rock concerts from the 70s, it's literally a bunch of rocks. It's so kitschy and silly, but I made actually I bought that one and then it was way smaller than I expected. So I made one for the show that was like this big and had it on the shelf in the back wall. I don't know where that one is, but I did keep the inspiration, so. And I guess I just find the idea of pet rocks, which was like another like 70s, 80s kind of childhood nostalgic silly thing, to be very funny. So whenever I find a rock I like, I just put little googly eyes on it and then, you know, it becomes like a pet rock. This wooden organizer I found at a thrift store. I think it has a really lovely design to it. It feels sort of architectural and cool. And I love that at thrift stores you can find, you know, anything from like goofy, weird little nostalgic things to like actually really beautifully crafted special items. And you just kind of have to dig around and search through the junk to find the good stuff. So this is the other side of my office, and I use it for storage and I use it for obviously display of yet more items. This is a dresser that I got from a location that we filmed in Kingston, New York. We were decorating a bedroom and this was in the bedroom, and we moved it out and I was admiring it. It's an 80s waterfall dresser and it came with a side table, and the homeowner was like, I hate that thing. I've been trying to get rid of it for years and years, so I took it off his hands. I also have a love for old stereos and old radios, and this one I got from Facebook Marketplace somewhere in Long Island. Like I drove to the end of Long Island and picked up this 80s stereo, but it does have a working record player, working tape decks, and it's just kind of cool to be able to have some of that old media and be able to actually enjoy it. So this is my little tiny record collection, and I think up here is kind of a gallery wall of art that I like. You'll notice that most of my place is filled with like bright colors, lots of reds and yellows and things, and this is kind of like my understated wall. This is as understated as I get. So again, there's art by some of my favorite artists, Nathaniel Russell, Mark Johnston, a lot of family photos sprinkled in, and I kind of just tried to tie the thing together with like wood frames and kind of browns and neutrals and just a lot of keepsakes that I sort of grouped by color. This is a vase that I got from literally a person selling it on the street in Brooklyn, and it's like a kind of 80s fish, and I think it's really cool. And then these are metal flowers made out of license plates that, again, that artist Mark Johnston made. And I really love flowers that are not flowers, like flowers that are made out of other materials. So I have some paper flowers, some wooden flowers, some metal flowers. I think as a motif, that's really interesting. This is another one of my very favorite thrift store finds of all time. This shell lamp I got at a thrift store in Chicago about 15 years ago. I did drop it once, so it's a little bit broken, but you know, I still love it and I'll keep it forever. I think I'm drawn when I'm thrifting to just like really mysterious items. Like if something is weird and I don't understand why it exists or who made it or where it came from, I'm just really intrigued by that, and I kind of want to make it a part of my story and kind of keep thinking about it and being inspired by it. This chair is one such item. I found it at a thrift store. It's sort of a camping chair with it looks like maybe a hand-sewn leather seat and this kind of burned-in eye motif. I have no idea what it is or where it came from, but I find it very cool and interesting. This is another mask by Gina Tro. So I have a lion over there and I think a giraffe or something over here. I just love the shapes and colors of her work. This is one of my favorite frames I've ever found at a thrift store. It's extremely glamorous, yellow and mirrored, and I put my own piece of art in it by the artist Nicole Lavelle, who does, once again, text-based artwork. So I think we've covered pretty much everything in my office, so I'll take you into the kitchen next. Production design and interior design are different. I love them both, but I am not an interior designer. I am an interior designer for myself, but there have been a few opportunities where people have asked me to do the work for them, and I don't think that's where my skills are, because first of all, for film, things don't have to stand the test of time. We put a world together and then we take it apart. And we create things for the camera, not for living. So I think that the way that we tell a story through a set is different than the way that people want to live with their things. I think that it's a really personal process to create a space for someone to live in. And I think that as a production designer, I get to do that for fictional characters. And it's very satisfying because you can fill in the details of someone's life and their backstory and what they like and what they don't like through the things that they surround themselves with. And thinking about that is really exciting, but we are building the character through their space. And when you go the other way and you do interior decorating for someone, you are celebrating their character with the things you put around them or you surround them with. And I just think that's a really intimate process, and I think it's a really different process. And a lot of what we do in production design, we put it there for a week or 2 weeks and we live in it, but it doesn't have to be a livable space. It just has to feel right. Of course, feeling right is also important in interior decorating, but I think there's more to it than that. And I think that we don't have to think about structural integrity. We don't have to think about things that you really want to live with forever. There are definitely some crossovers. Like, I think something I've taken into my own life is no overhead lights and really thinking cinematically about how you light a space, and the same things that look good on camera feel good to spend time in. So little pockets of light, different kinds of light, variety, and sort of lighting up the places that you use the most. Like I have my industrial desk lamp here, which is great, but I don't want that kind of light everywhere. I want that here, and I want it to be kind of in this area. I don't want a light coming down harshly on me from above. And so this is a rule that I think applies both to film and to life, and it's something that I've definitely taken from sort of creating cinematic spaces. So this is my kitchen, and I was shocked when I first saw this place to see how big of a space it was for a Brooklyn kitchen. Almost feels like a farmhouse kitchen, which I love as I grew up on a farm, and I feel like it just has a lot of room to spread out. You know, it does have a lot of things that are just kind of like the landlord special of like whatever kind of prefab cabinets he could find, and this and that are a little bit like of a strange combination, maybe not what I would choose if I were to create this kitchen from scratch, but it has so many great details going for it that I don't even mind that stuff. I just kind of adapt it into the rest of my design. So I love the size of this. I love the big windows. I have room for a dining table. One thing I did do, because of these sort of ugly oak prefab cabinets, I did add this vinyl to them, which again is one of my kind of tricks, both for filmmaking and for life. If you have a surface or a space that you want to transform in a really easy way and add color or texture or whatever it is in a temporary way, because this just peels right off. So you can do that with vinyl or contact paper, and I use it like in a lot of different spots in my house. But I definitely think it turns this sort of ugly, weird little bank of cabinets into more of a focal point of the room. Once again, with my artwork over here, you can see my love for text in art and graphics and things like that. We have another piece by Martha Rich here. This is one of my own collages with some text from a song that I really love. These are other artists that I really like. This is Myra Coleman. She has a lot of pieces in the New Yorker, and my grandma always clips them out for me and sends them to me, and I've framed some of my favorites. I definitely am embracing the idea of like food-themed artwork in the kitchen. I'm like, why not? I have a lot of things that I like that are, fruits and vegetables and text about food, and so I'm just kind of leaning into that. I have a very cute little colorful microwave, because why not have all of your appliances be cute? I have a pink toaster for the same reason. And then I even in the kitchen don't often use the overhead light, so I have little lamps scattered around the space, and I genuinely use them like even when I'm cooking dinner and things like that. So a couple things this room came with were these two kind of new prefabricated counters or cabinets, because I think they knew that there just wasn't enough storage space in here and enough surface. So I repositioned them to these two spots. So I know that my space is super colorful, and I've had a lot of people ask me like, how do I know what colors to mix or combine, or how to kind of keep it from being super chaotic if you're gonna use every color in the rainbow. And I just kind of do what feels right, and I also think if you like the items that you put in your house, then they're gonna go together. I definitely lean towards primary colors and pops of bright color, but I think that you can really make any combination of colors harmonious if you just kind of, feel it out and play around with how you put them together. So this sign here, Polite Laughter, is from a TV show I designed quite a while ago now, maybe 8 years ago, called Documentary Now. Fred Armisen and Bill Hader would recreate documentaries from past decades. And it was a really challenging show to design because basically every episode was a different period piece and we had to create a different decade. And also I felt that on that my job was to be the the more seriously we took it and the more real we made it feel, the funnier the jokes could kind of flow out of that. So that was a really great challenge. I learned so much about production design and what it can do. And this was from one of the episodes. It was like almost like an applause sign on a stage, but it said Polite Laughter. It's part of the joke. And then all the items up there are just kind of honestly props I've used in prop styling jobs for commercials and things like that I've just found charming and kept, and that's where I put them, and then sometimes I'll use them for other jobs as well. This is actually a great corner for cooking. It feels kind of random, like there's just like an oven stove over here in the corner, but it's actually really a pleasant place to prepare meals. I have this little pop light here that's like a battery operated light that you can stick to the wall. It's actually operated by your phone. It's a very cool company, and it's kind of a good way to put light in a little area that you might otherwise not have enough. So when I am cooking in the evening, I'll use that rather than the overhead light. So this is by an artist named Billy Lilly, who makes like hand-painted plywood art on Instagram. And that's where I found him, at least, and he does a lot of like really great pop culture references, and I love the kind of poppy, oversized boldness of his work. It's really cool and a little bit cartoony. I find it very charming and funny. This is another piece by Mark Johnston, and this is another New Yorker cutout that my grandma sent me by Myra Coleman, who's one of my favorite artists. She just has a really great sensibility and point of view that I love. This is a balloon lamp that I got in New Mexico. I love the aesthetic of New Mexico. They have the Hot Air Balloon Festival there, and just all of the kind of the artwork that is part of that Southwestern and specifically New Mexican aesthetic is really interesting to me. And then, just for a bit of extra whimsy, we have Lisa Simpson hanging out in the balloon. It was really important to me to have a lot of plants in my home in Brooklyn because I feel like I'm just in such an urban area, and I wanted it to be sort of part of the little sanctuary that I come home to. And also I have these giant windows on both ends of my apartment, so I feel like why not, make the most of them and have some plants here. So this wall really has a lot of plants, some of them doing better than others, but I like the kind of greenery and the slightly wild vibe, and I also really like the primary colors and the kind of rainbow of colors that I'm still bringing in over here. These curtains were made with old 80s sheets. I just sewed them myself. Again, not super well, but it does the job. And I like that they're just half curtains. They're kind of like cafe style curtains because I don't want anything too formal and long in here. And I also feel like this way I can just get a little bit of privacy if I want, but I'll always have that natural light coming in. And this chair is by an artist named Caity, whose Instagram is Sandwich Shop. And she is so funny and great, and she's kind of a cartoonist, and she references a lot of pop culture that I also grew up loving. So this is my David Byrne chair. It's made out of a chair from a school. I think she got it secondhand from an old school, and she drew David Byrne onto it, and I really love that. This is the kind of art that I'm really drawn to, so I'm very into all of her work. So when I first moved in, I was thrilled to have a kitchen big enough for at least like a breakfast table. And so I kind of was looking all over Facebook Marketplace for a good option. I really am drawn to these 50s style tables and chairs, and I think it's just really cute. It's not in the best shape. At some point I might want to give it a little redo, but for now, I actually drove like 3 hours up towards Albany to pick up this table, and all my friends were like, what's the big deal? But I just felt like it was the right vibe as like the center of the kitchen. So above the table, we have another sort of gallery wall with food sort of theme and definitely primary color theme. This is based on a Herman Miller design poster from 1970 that I absolutely love and could never afford. And I didn't want to buy a cheap reproduction, so I actually made this myself. It's a collage, made it out of bits of paper. This is kind of my style of collage anyway, but I'm using it to create kind of a copy of an existing piece of art. In this case, I found this red frame and I just kind of made it to fit because this is an image I've always loved and think is very funny, and I've always wanted it in my house. This is from a TV show I did called Joe Pera Talks With You, where we did a episode of a grocery store, so it'll always make me think of that. Again, we have Martha Rich and Sister Carita and Nathaniel Russell, and this is Kate Bingman Burt, and those are David Shrigley up there. And I definitely gravitate towards the same artists and like to collect their work. So this is actually the front door to my apartment. So this is the one door of the three that I actually use to enter. And it's like a little bit awkward, like a New York apartment where you kind of walk in and the fridge is right here. But I like this layout, and even though this is a stainless fridge, like the very first thing I did pretty much was just plaster it with magnets and stuff. That's just something that I feel is a missed opportunity. If you have a fridge with nothing on it, what are you even doing? So this has a lot of my favorite little mementos, photos of friends, and some artwork that I like. And it's kind of an awkward corner. Like I have a little storage unit here, my trash can, place to hang my umbrella and my hats and things. And then the main thing that I would love to get everyone on board with is the idea of a fridge lamp, because I had a set decorator and a friend that I used to work with in Los Angeles who kind of brought this idea to my attention of putting a lamp on top of your fridge, and it honestly like blew my mind. I think it's such a great idea, and if you have this kind of negative space above your fridge, it's another way to create a pocket of light that is maybe more pleasing than your overhead light. And it's just also a very funny juxtaposition to me to have like kind of a table lamp on top of your fridge. So I say go for it. Here, this is a sign from a production I worked on called Now Apocalypse. And it just seems very relevant and, you know, kind of a nice memento of the show, but also kind of weird and funny and a little too close to home when you're about to go out into the world. This is another memento from the show Joe Pera Talks With You. The director gave it to me as a wrap gift because every weekend we would go bowling, and in Milwaukee where we filmed the show, that was definitely part of the local culture. So just as kind of a memory of bowling in Milwaukee, I have this bowling pin forever. I feel like it's a bit of a trophy, which I love. So when I was in Milwaukee for 4 months, I actually bought a bowling ball at the thrift store to use for bowling, and the name on the ball was Sam Rivera. It was like inscribed or engraved in the ball, so that's why it says that on here. I do think a lot of people don't know what a production designer does, and actually I went to film school not knowing what a production designer did. I went thinking I wanted to be a director because I think when you don't work in the industry, you kind of, that's the job you think of. You're either an actor or a director, maybe you're the cinematographer, but you kind of don't know all of the people and all of the creative jobs that go into making a film beyond that. And so I had to actually go to film school for directing to discover that I wanted to be a production designer. What it really entails is creating the space and the feeling of the movie. I think that the emotion of a space is really important. You can do that through color, you can do that through the items in the space. So everything that's on camera other than the actors and their costumes and the lighting perhaps is brought there by the production design department. And so that includes set decoration, that includes props, and that includes construction, sometimes graphics, signage, things like that. We have to be sometimes very creative in how we source items. Like, you know, we have to scour thrift stores, and we have to look on Facebook Marketplace, and we have to kind of call vendors who don't usually work on film and ask them to help us out and help us get what we need to make the movie. So that's a really exciting process, and I also love it as a way to kind of see America and see the world and like get to live in different places for 3-4 months at a time and sort of immerse myself in their culture. And honestly, getting to shop thrift stores in a new city tells you so much about the people that live there. It's almost like being like an anthropologist or an archaeologist. You're kind of like digging into the culture by looking through the items that people have owned. And that's really cool to me. I had done a movie called Sorry Baby that did really wonderfully at Sundance, which is so exciting because it's a beautiful movie, it's really special, and the tone of it is something I've just never quite seen before. It's really singular and exciting. So to be at Sundance and to see it do so well was really, really cool. And so that movie is coming out this summer with A24, and I'm really excited to see what happens when the world gets to watch it. You might be wondering where the bedroom is. Well, I have this very weird tiny door in the corner, and I've turned it into my little cozy nook of a bedroom. Let me show you. This door is another New York special, very strange, like it doesn't even have a handle on it. I don't know what you're supposed to put in here, but for me, it's my bedroom. This is by a friend of mine, James Burial, who is a wonderful woodworker, very whimsical and interesting shapes. He started making these, which he calls the Wiggle. It's kind of like a hat slash hanger for coats and towels. I use it for my bathroom towels and whatever else. And he gifted this to me because he just thought both the color and the shape were something that would belong in my apartment. And I have to say, I greatly agree. Welcome to my tiny little bedroom. It's about 6 by 9 feet. Just barely fits a full-size bed, end to end. And there's actually another door to the hallway behind this curtain, and obviously not convenient for using as a bedroom. So I just wanted to mask that was even there with these curtains. And I also think it brings an extra layer of coziness to the room by sort of creating this monochromatic pink kind of area and having the velvety curtains. It just feels like a very cozy little nook. I added this little footboard because the space was a little awkward. The bed was just a little bit too short to fill the space, so it would kind of slide around and move. So I added this little footboard here, and it just kind of like really cinches in the bed on both sides. These are some pieces of art that, again, have the text that I like so much. This was made by a Carmelite nun in the 80s from her personal collection. I just think it's really charming and sweet. This is one of the ones I've made. I'm actually, when I'm kind of not working as I would say more of like a therapeutic process, I do a lot of collage art, and this is one of mine. This is by an artist I found on Instagram who makes beautiful stained glass pieces. Again, all of this shows my love of text and kind of text mixed with design and color. This is a piece I also brought from that first movie I worked on in New York. It's not in the best shape, but I think it's really pretty, and it's definitely a vintage piece of furniture. I like the round mirror. I think it kind of plays with all of the other kind of cozy, comfortable feminine elements in this room. You know, I don't like to miss an opportunity to have little knickknacks everywhere, so I put this shelf here above my bed. It does help a lot to have these little sources of light to light up the corner, and then I just kind of have things that I like and collect that I like to have near me. This is a kinetic sculpture that I found at a thrift store in Los Angeles. And when I found it, I did not know anything about the artist, but it is signed Peter Markey, and I looked him up, and he like made these for like 50 years and died recently, actually. They're so funny and charming, and I think they just really speak to the things I like in design. I do like a sense of humor, and I do like kind of this sort of sweet, nostalgic feeling of like the hearts and the rainbows and the balloons and all of those things from my childhood. This painting I got at a thrift store in Los Angeles. There's a lot of good thrifting in Los Angeles. I have to say that is one thing about New York that does not stand up to Los Angeles. In New York, thrift stores feel very picked over. There's not a lot of real estate. In Los Angeles, you just have miles and miles of sprawl with a lot of weird, cool stuff being given to the thrift store. So this is a painting from, I believe, the 60s that was definitely one of those kind of mass-produced paintings at that time, and it's kind of mid-century, but I love the colors and I love how the green and yellow plays with all the pink I have going on in this room. So this is a wall I get to look at a lot when I'm lying in bed, and so it has some of my favorite pieces on it. This is the artist I mentioned, Esther Pearl Watson, who's kind of a folk artist working in Los Angeles. She does a lot of nostalgic art based on her childhood and a lot of sparkly UFOs, which I find very interesting and cool. This one is also one of hers. This is an original sketch where she has a piece of aluminum foil as the UFO. I went for it and added the pink sparkles myself in the framing. This is a bowling trophy from my great Aunt Franny. She had a bowling league called the Birmingham Beauties in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And I just really like having that in my room to look at, and I find it both funny and cute. This planter here, I guess I wanted a way to bring a little greenery and a little, obviously there's not a lot of surface over here, so I was trying to think of a way to bring a little plant into this wall. So I found this old 70s planter and have just a little bit of something growing over there. I think it's kind of a nice touch. This is a chair that a set decorator friend of mine gave me on a project a long time ago, and I've just kept it with me all the time. I like the shape and the pattern. These rugs, I don't know, it's a weird, such a tiny room. I've just kind of layered small throw rugs rather than trying to do a full rug situation, because it's literally, this room is not big enough for a real area rug. So that's all for my very tiny bedroom. Let me show you the bathroom next, which is weirdly actually the same size as the bedroom. So this is the bathroom. The funny thing about it is it's literally the same size as my bedroom on the opposite end of the apartment. So for a bathroom, it's very large. For a bedroom, it's quite small. So I do, of course, use this opportunity to have like yet another thematic moment. So I have this sort of collection of portraits, mostly portraits of women that I've collected from like thrifting and maybe Etsy and things like that. And also I tend to find a lot of Virgin Mary artwork at thrift stores. And so whenever I call them thrift store Marys, and whenever I find one, I usually buy it and I kind of add it to the collection. And sometimes I add like little words and sayings to them as part of my collage process. This shelf is one that I brought from a show that I worked on, oh my gosh, so long ago, like 2012. It was a movie called White Bird in a Blizzard. That was a Greg Araki movie. This was a piece that we used in the main character's bathroom, and I just thought it was really sweet, and I've kept it ever since. This shower curtain is by an artist, Leah Rena Gorin, and she does a lot of portraits of women, and I just thought it was kind of a cool statement in this room. And then here again, I have more kind of collected bits of art and portraits of women, and the Virgin Mary as well keeps appearing. And most of those, I just keep finding them at thrift stores, and I just collect them. It just became a thing. So this is an IKEA cart. It actually might be the only thing in my apartment that I bought new from IKEA. So I take back my 100% that I mentioned before. But yeah, this is an IKEA cart, and it's just useful, I guess. And then I, of course, found another way to have a lamp in here so that I don't have to have the overhead light on. I am someone who works away from home a lot. So I'll do projects out of town for 3-4 months at a time. I'll live in a new city that I've never been to before, and I love that process. I love getting to travel. I love getting to learn about other communities. But it's really important to me to have a place to come back to that feels like kind of a safe haven. And when I moved to New York, I would say I'm an introvert. And I've heard from many people that living in New York it takes a lot out of you, because you're surrounded by people all the time, and there's always things happening, and there's always unpredictable things happening. And I think having a place to come home to that is kind of quiet, although I do have honking outside my window all the time, but I do kind of have like a feeling of solitude and peace in this place. And I know that looking around, it doesn't necessarily, peaceful might not be the word that you would use to describe the colorful kind of maximalism that I have going on, but I find it very, it's a place that I want to be in and spend time in, and I think that that's what you need, especially when you travel a lot for work, to come home to somewhere that feels like you and that tells your story and that you just want to spend time in.
Hey Homeworthy, my name's Caitlin. Welcome to my apartment in Los Feliz. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Burnham. I work in luxury residential real estate, and I'm also a content creator. We're here in Los Feliz, California, in my 1920s Art Deco apartment, which, as my followers know it, is called the CLB Chateau. It's a 1-bed, 1-bath, and about 700 square feet. When I moved to Los Angeles about a year and a half ago, I knew that I wanted to find a space that really inspired me, as I am constantly creating in my space. And I knew that I wanted a home that really depicted the architecture and history of LA, and that's really what drew me to this 1920s Art Deco apartment. And like I said, I named it the CLB Chateau because I was really inspired by the French details and architecture that are pulled in through the crown molding and the original fixtures and tile throughout the apartment. I would say the overall style of the apartment is definitely a mix of old and new. I've pulled in a lot of vintage pieces that I've found at local flea markets. The Rose Bowl flea market is one of my favorites. And then I've also pulled in a lot of new pieces. My coffee table, which I get a lot of questions about, is from Berber Imports, which is a local import wholesaler in Los Angeles. I've really filled the space with a lot of pieces that I've collected over the past year and a half. You'll see a lot of the ceramic pieces around the home are from a local ceramicist, Stephanie Don Matias, who I love and adore so much. Okay, so now we're in the living room, which is right when you walk in the front door. It's such an amazing space, truly. The light that shines in here throughout the day is incredible. I was really inspired by the French architecture in this space. You can see the crown molding on this fixture right here on this chandelier is incredible. So I really wanted to play off of that as kind of the main focus of the space. And then you have these two sconces on the walls as well that frame the couch. I really loved. The pokes of nature just kind of coming in through the space really gives it kind of an earthy vibe as well. But this is kind of the main moment. So I have my beloved couch from Restoration Harbor that is so cozy and comfy for movie nights. And then I have my coffee table from Berber Imports. The book styling on the table is from Maison Plage, which is a local book curator who does book stacks in your homes. And each book kind of plays into my personal style. So I have the iconic CBK book, a book from Arc Digest, and just kind of played with that. And then I have my iconic CLB Chateau matchbooks, which I love so much, and have those just kind of in a antique dish. The rug, I get so many questions on. The rug is from Rush House, and it's really cool because you can actually take off pieces of the squares to make it fit into your space. So I love that, and it again just kind of brings in those earthy tones into the space, which I was really going for. It was really important for me to mix modern with old pieces, so I have my modern with the couch and the coffee table, but then I brought in a piece that I thrifted from the Rose Bowl flea market. This chair always acts as another place for people to just sit and enjoy, and we have such great conversations and so much laughter in my living room. I've been really lucky at the Rose Bowl flea market. My biggest tips would definitely be to arrive early. You have to get there kind of at like 5 a.m. with the early crowd, and don't give up. You will find a piece when you least expect it, and just keep looking. When I moved from San Francisco to Los Angeles, I knew that I was gonna be stepping into kind of a bustling and overwhelming city, and I really just wanted to have a space that I felt the most common and the most like myself, and this living room is definitely where I find myself creating the most. I feel the most inspired in this room, and I just love it. My favorite room in my apartment would have to be the living room that we're sitting in now. Like I said, the light just shining in from these windows is incredible. You truly get natural light at every hour of the day, which is amazing, especially as a creator who's constantly creating in my space. The plaster molding and little details throughout the doorways and the fixture above me here is just also pretty incredible. That's the living room. Now let me take you into the kitchen. Follow me. The kitchen is really special. I definitely wanted to play into the original features in the kitchen. So you have the detail on the floor, this wooden little cabinet that I keep a lot of little trinkets in and books. Again, I have some styling from Maison Plage here. And then I have some plates. I love collecting little plates, so I have these from Elsie Green. And then these little salt and pepper shakers from McConnell Design, another Bay Area company. And then we have my little matchbooks again. I work with a local florist on all of my arrangements, so this is from Kelly Ross. She does such an amazing job. We went with spring florals to lean into the springtime right now. Another favorite in my kitchen has to be the blue tile. I get so many compliments about this tile. So I really wanted to play into this. And again, a goal with my space is always to just let it speak for itself. So I didn't really want to over clutter my countertops too much, but I just played in with a few more little ceramic plates. This one has a cute little lamb on it. Again, more pieces that I've kind of just collected through finding vintage finds. I went to France last summer and was so inspired by all of the interiors and the French flea markets. So I have a lot of little pieces that I've started to collect since I've been back to kind of just bring that inspiration back into my home. And there's a lot of little hidden original features in the home. So we have an ironing board here that I don't really use, but it's still really cool to show. And then back here in the kitchen, or back here near the sink, we also have a cutting board that I do use and cut up all my fresh produce from the farmer's market on here. And then I always have my farmer's market tote sitting here in my life. Farmer's markets on Sundays are a non-negotiable. I'm always heading there. And then I was lucky enough that the previous tenant had this piece in her home, and when I toured, she was so sweet to lend it down to me. And again, just sticking with those pieces that really lean into the architectural style and not over cluttering the home, but really meant a lot to me. So that's the kitchen. Let's move on to the bathroom. Come with me. Before I take you into the bedroom, I want to quickly show you the bathroom. This space is so sweet. The pink tile really drew me to the bathroom, and I quickly became just so obsessed with it. This home has been lived in for a long time, and it really shows with the original features like this pink tile, and then you have these gorgeous original fixtures, the sink. It's really so special. So now let's go into the bedroom. I think my biggest design tip would definitely be less is more, especially in this space, it being a 1920s Art Deco apartment where the architecture really speaks for itself. I wanted to kind of match that style with the pieces that I was bringing in, and that definitely didn't happen overnight. It took me a year and a half to really curate this space, but at the end of the day, I just wanted it to be a reflection of me and to really just let it speak for itself because it's so special. So in my bedroom, this is one of my favorite spaces to create in. You might see a lot of my outfit of the day videos happening right here in this corner. This dresser was $25 from a local flea market in Los Angeles, and it is my prized possession. This is kind of my getting ready area. It's where I keep all of my favorite makeup products. I'm such a Say Beauty fan. This was a really special find of mine. I actually got it pretty quickly into my move into this apartment. It's a man on a horse, and I just was immediately drawn to it, and it kind of spoke to me, and then it really just framed this space again with the original fixture here, and I just love this moment that I've kind of created here. And then we have my bed. This is a CB2 bed frame. It's the coziest bed. All of my linens are from Nikki Kehoe, and it's truly like my favorite thing to just jump in at night. This was another vintage find, and I just paired it with a book from Maison Plage, my matchbooks, and a diptyque candle. Again, really just less is more in my bedroom. I feel like that is what makes me feel the calmest in this space. And just keeping it not really too cluttered. This print that's now sitting on the ground and honestly never made it up onto the walls, but I don't know if you've noticed, I don't really like to keep anything on the walls because I really, again, just like the space to speak for itself. But a homage to my home city, San Francisco. And then here, my end table is from CB2, and then a little Jenny Kane light and some books again on top. I've played around with a few different linen styles on my bed. I went more colorful at one point, and then I've kind of landed on this mix of neutral tones with a pattern and some stripes. And again, I feel like in my space at night, I just want to feel the most calm, and this colorway and combination of patterns and colors definitely just speaks to that, and bringing in the earth tones again of the trees outside and the green, and it's just where I feel the most calm. One thing that I talk a lot about in my content is creating uniforms within your wardrobe. So I call them my CLB uniforms, which again stands for my full name, Caitlin Burnham. But it's really all about finding those pieces in your wardrobe that you can lean on constantly. So I'm typically wearing a white tee, a pair of Levi's, and a pair of ballet flats. And then you're just mixing that up with adding in that black blazer, that dress, the black tee, and it all just ends up creating those uniforms in your wardrobe, and you really end up feeling like you have more than you even do. If you're interested in fashion and lifestyle content from me, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Caitlin Burnham and Visions by CLB on Substack. To me, home is a space that welcomes creativity and love, and at the end of the day, it's just a reflection of me and the people in my life that I love the most and get to welcome into my home and spend time with. All right, Homeworthy, thanks for visiting. I gotta go film an outfit video, but I'll see you next time. Bye.
Today we're taking you inside the New York City apartment of Benjamin Brougham, Jonathan Adler's creative director.
I have these giant windows. They look out directly onto a busy New York street with very New York buildings. And that's what I really loved about it. Like when I'm in New York, I really want to feel like I'm in New York. So that was a big part of what drew me to this apartment.
With a love for antiques from his English roots, a passion for mid-century Italian design, and a playful eye for color and texture, Ben has created a space that's as eclectic and vibrant as his design sensibility.
This is a vintage Italian cabinet. It's from the 60s. It has this incredible painting of galleons on it. And what I love about this piece is that it's a really incredible piece of design. It has the most incredible detailing of the legs on the end, but then it just has this fun moment where they decided to paint galleons on it. Why not? It just adds that little bit of levity, that little bit of interest. And that's kind of the way we approach design at Jonathan Adler. We're really serious about design. We're really passionate about design. But we always sort of approach it with a sort of 95% serious design, but just that little 5% extra of levity is what brings it to life and what makes it us. Hi Homeworthy, I'm Ben. Welcome to my apartment in New York City. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Brougham. I'm the creative director at Jonathan Adler. and this is my apartment in the Flatiron district of New York. I found this on Street Easy. I was looking around for apartments. It's a rental, and I wanted something very central. I wanted somewhere where I could walk to all the places I like to go. And I found this place. It's small but perfectly formed. It's an alcove studio, but I really felt I could also make it my own. And what I loved most about it were the high ceilings. So when I saw it, it was just a white box, but I really felt like even being a rental, I could do a lot with it. And in fact, for a while, I lived with it pretty much as a white box. I had a bunch of little bit more colorful furniture in it. But then like a year ago, I really decided that I wanted to change it completely and not live in white walls anymore. And I painted them this, I guess you could call it Tiffany blue. It wasn't really supposed to be Tiffany, but it's a little bit more sea foamy. It just wanted it to be happy and calm and have a sense of peace about it. And I think I got it. And what I loved about this apartment, it's an old building, but a redeveloped building. It was originally built, this building, around the turn of the century as the world's largest women's shoe store. In 2012, it was converted into condos. And what I love about this building is it has really big windows because of that provenance of the building and how old it was. So here we are in my living room. It's a little bit conversation pit-like with this sectional. This is so comfortable. This is the Jonathan Adler Pompidou sectional. It's one of my favorite pieces. I really wanted a sectional in this area. I gather here with friends to watch movies a lot and hang out. So I really wanted a sectional, and I love this one. It's really amazing. So comfortable, very simple, with a really beautiful detail on the back. So that's here. On it, I have these incredible pillows by one of the designers that I admire most, which is J.P. Meyer. These are some really crazy, based on sort of antique tapestries with these insane fringe edges on them. So I put those on there. Very comfortable, but also a little over the top. Everything is situated on top of this rug that I custom designed. This is sort of based on a pattern from Jonathan Adler called our Eden pattern, which is sort of based on snakes, but these are just these large, curvaceous, black and white forms on the green background. And then on top of that sits our Alphaville cocktail table, which is very shiny and reflective. So the pattern is distorted and reflected in that, giving a kind of like crazy op art effect. Over here, this is again a Jonathan Adler chair, our Milano wingback chair, very comfortable. I love a wingback chair, especially for a corner like this. This is our Jonathan Adler Lisbon floor lamp. I love the uplighting quality of this. It's really great in a space like this to uplight. You don't really want directional light unless you want it for reading in a living area, so this is a little more flattering and soft. This is a vintage piece that I bought when I first moved to New York. Love this piece. Really great mid-century quality to it. It is a mid-century piece with these hexagonal details and the horsehair inlays. Really beautiful. We have over here a column, and then on top of it is one of my favorite vintage pieces. This is a monkey that I bought on my first ever trip to Palm Beach. I have a lot of trips to Palm Beach. I work there a lot. We have a lot of clients down there, a lot of interior design. And this was a piece that I bought when I first went in an antique shop that no longer exists. It used to be an incredible place to find bargains. There's not many places to find bargains down there now. And I got this then for about $200 and carried it back with me in my suitcase, I think, which don't know how I did that, but I did. And it's been with me ever since, so nearly 20 years now. So these two giant prints have been with me a long time. Again, another piece that I bought when I first moved to New York. These were from a very large vintage poster store down on Chambers Street. And I loved these. I loved how they were almost life-size. They're French carnival posters, antique French carnival posters. And I love how they sort of stand guard over the sofa. They very much have a sort of Fornasetti quality to them, which I love, and I have a few pieces of Fornasetti around my apartment. And so I really liked that about them, and I like that they stand there and guard over me as I'm watching TV. When we're developing furniture, and I work quite closely with Jonathan and our product development team, and often there's sort of two ways this happens. Sometimes I'm designing an interior and I realize we're missing a piece from our collection that would be really useful in that interior. And so we develop a piece around that. Sometimes I find a vintage piece that we then really love, and so that inspires another piece in our collection. So the chair by the window is inspired by a piece that I found in the French flea market. Jonathan and I were shopping in the Paris flea markets, found a little tiny chair, very similar to this, loved it so much, bought it, used it in an interior design project, and then decided that it would be a really good addition to our collection. So developed this chair based on the sort of bones of the chair we bought in the flea market. So this is our Pompidou lamp from our Jonathan Adler collection. Again, I like shiny things. I'm a bit of a magpie, but I love the pared back modernist form of this sort of simple shape, but with the really shiny chrome finish and the tulle shade. It was just the perfect piece for this corner. Sitting in front of these drapes, I really like drapery in an interior. I think it's a great way of softening it. In this case, though, I didn't want it to contrast the walls, so I picked a color of fabric that almost matched the walls, kind of softening the corners and softening the edges, but continuing this enveloping color of the room. So when I design, I very much design with a sense of place, and I'm always thinking about where the interior is that we're designing. And so a big part of what drew me to this apartment was that it really felt like it was in New York. I have these giant windows. They look out directly onto a busy New York street with very New York buildings. And that's what I really loved about it. Like when I'm in New York, I really want to feel like I'm in New York. So that was a big part of what drew me to this apartment. So over in this corner, I have this little round table. I love a library table in a room. I love books. I use books as part of the styling on the coffee table, on end tables. And I love a library table, which is what this kind of is, which really would normally be stacked full of books. I have a few books on here, but really what took over is the collection of acrylic mushrooms from Jonathan Adler. This was something that we produced about a year ago now, I think we developed these. It was a genius idea of Jonathan's. And I was obsessed with them and had to have them, so I kind of made this table about them. This table was just an excuse to show off that collection. And then I added to it, obviously, some books. As I said, I like to use those for styling. And then this lamp is something I found in an auction fairly recently. It's vintage Italian by a designer called Aldatura. It's lacquered goat skin from the 1960s, probably early 60s, I think. And I just thought it was so weird. And what better to go with a collection of giant acrylic mushrooms than a lamp in the shape of a pipe. From the living room, we'll move towards the kitchen and dining area. I don't cook an awful lot in my apartment here, but I do entertain a lot. So I have a lot of friends over for drinks. And so I took this Jonathan Adler Antwerp cabinet and I made it my bar. So inside here, full setup for drinks, serving wine, cocktails, whatever. Up here on top, I love to create vignettes when I'm designing, especially in areas like this where you're not necessarily going to practically put something, but you want a visual component on top of a piece of furniture like this for decoration. So up here, I have a sort of neoclassical collection inspired, sort of neoclassical inspired collection of pieces. So we have a couple of obelisks here, neoclassical painting of a bust, and then this incredible piece here, which is Italian Bertozzi from the 1960s. This sort of Caesar's bust, I think it is, here. That came from a very favorite store of mine, The End of History, which is in the West Village. They have the most incredible and inspiring collection of ceramics from mainly mid-century, ceramics and glass, and they're a go-to for mine whenever I'm looking for pieces for projects. So the entry part of my apartment and the bedroom and the kitchen dining area have a slightly lower ceiling, dropped clearly for housing ductwork and for stuff like that. But then when you get to the main living area, you have a sudden increase in height, and we have this great expansive area, which is what I love the most about my apartment. It really is nice as well. Like, it's kind of an architectural thing to have that compression of an area that you enter into, and then to open up into a much bigger space as a classic architectural way of adding some drama. I have this great cerused oak black dining table, and I've paired that with these really fantastic Jonathan Adler chairs. These dining chairs, I love the fact that they're these circular motifs that are really very simple but very comfortable. And then you have this great moment on the back here, which is a handle wrapped in leather. Just makes them really practical for grabbing and pulling out. They're sort of like hardworking, casual, great dining chairs. Coming off of the dining room and bridging the sort of transitional space between the dining room and the entry hallway is this piece, which is probably one of my favorite things. This is a vintage Italian cabinet. It's from the 60s. It has this incredible painting of galleons on it. And what I love about this piece is that it's a really incredible piece of design. It has the most incredible detailing of the legs on the end, but then it just has this fun moment where they decided to paint galleons on it. Why not? It just adds that little bit of levity, that little bit of interest. And that's kind of the way we approach design at Jonathan Adler. We're really serious about design. We're really passionate about design. But we always sort of approach it with a sort of 95% serious design, but just that little 5% extra of levity is what brings it to life and what makes it us. So this cabinet I found online. I was really obsessed with having something like it here. I wanted something this kind of scale. I spent ages hunting for it. I knew I wanted something vintage. I knew it was probably going to be Italian because I was a little bit obsessed with Italian furniture. And I found this piece online. I managed to get it at a reasonable price. However, then when it turned up, it didn't fit in the elevator. So I had to pay someone to come and take it apart, bring it up in the elevator, and then bring it into the apartment and put it back together again. So this is a incredibly versatile piece of furniture. It's a library and storage shelving piece. It's my stationery cabinet here, but then it's also a closet. So I really like to add these moments on top of pieces of furniture, as I've done here. I have a great collection of mid-century, mainly Italian glass here in shades of green and blue. I love to create collections. I love collections that have a theme, either a color or style theme. And then we have this incredible acrylic lucite head from Jonathan Adler, this huge neoclassical bust, and this fantastic lamp, which is also from Jonathan Adler, which just kind of accents and adds some light to the end here. So the shelves are kind of styled with some of my favorite books, a bunch of inspiring books. So this is my collection of David Hicks books right here. David Hicks was an incredible decorator and interior designer from London, working sort of in the 60s right the way through to the 80s and 90s, I think. And his books are a real inspiration to me. They are regularly things that I pour through. He was a master at color, he was a master at pattern, and a master of displaying collections too, was one of the things I found really inspiring by him. And then we have a collection, lots of different collections, glass and mid-century ceramics, Jonathan Adler pieces, Fornasetti pieces. And then I have this little kind of box here, which is a few pieces that were my grandfather's, so some little family relics that were from his travels and things that he had. This is a really great piece of fiber art. I'm a bit obsessed with fiber art. I love it. It was very popular in the 60s, 70s. This is very much inspired by an artist called Sheila Hicks. This is not a Sheila Hicks piece. It would be very expensive if it was hers. This is a piece that I found in a shop in Palm Springs. Again, Palm Springs is another great place for vintage furniture and accessories, somewhere we do a lot of work and somewhere that I love to go shopping. I grew up in England. I was really obsessed as a child with antiques, and I would go junk shopping and thrifting with my mother. At the age of 13, I had a stall in an antiques market selling antiques, so I was a little precocious, I guess, and was always obsessed with style and stylistic movements. So my studies then took me to look at stylistic movements from Baroque to the present day. That was my degree, and it really founded appreciation in me for where things come from stylistically. I think that often people just say they like this stylistic element, or they like a column like this, or a piece of decoration like that, and they kind of just throw them in without really knowing where they come from. And I think when you know where those things come from and have an appreciation for that, you're able to reuse those things in a more comprehensive and pleasing, I guess, way, in a way that they actually make sense together, in a way that you sort of you end up curating things rather than just putting things together. And that's a big part of what I do, and a big part of what I love about what I do is to pull things from all different eras, all different styles, and make them work together. And I think that my personal style is a real amalgamation of that, and my apartment is a real testament to that. My personal style is very eclectic. What I do for work is very eclectic. I'm very lucky in that I'm able to live here in New York City, and I have a place in the countryside back in the UK. That lives out my fantasies of being in a sort of English period drama. I can decorate that with antiques and things that I have from my childhood and my family. Whereas here in New York, I could kind of go any which way I wanted to. And I ended up with this eclectic grouping of objects that I've traveled with and found, things that I've found whilst working, and then a whole lot of Jonathan Adler product too, because we make really amazing things and I love them. And this was my opportunity to curate all those things together, the vintage things, the things that I found, the things that I love from our collections and the things that I've worked on as well, and put them all into one thing that expressed Benjamin Brougham in his home. Some Benjamin Brougham essentials are definitely some color and some pattern, but not crazily, like using it with restraint and using it intentionally. Always some vintage pieces, always some antique pieces, some older antique pieces, and then a lot of mid-century modern. I'm particularly passionate right now about mid-century Italian pieces, and you'll see some of those in my apartment. And then I think another Ben Brougham essential is drapery, which you'll see in my bedroom and my entry foyer. And I always like to use drapes at really large windows to soften the edges and to add a little bit of color and texture. I think a lot of what we fight against in apartments like this, which is a sort of relatively modern development, is the sort of boxiness of them and the white boxiness of them. And I'm always looking for ways to add some sort of architecture and texture and a feeling and an atmosphere that maybe doesn't exist in those white boxes beforehand. So this is a rental apartment, so I didn't really have any choice in the kitchen, but I liked that it was pretty neutral and white. That enabled me to kind of just live with it. But what I did do, which I always love to do in projects, and especially when I'm designing kitchens too, is to make it feel casual and to make it feel kind of a little bit like not so clinical. So I added a lamp, I've added portraits that I've collected. I kind of use the stovetop more as storage than I do to cook on. And just kind of keep it casual and add some of those like fun elements is what I really liked about it. So this picture here is just a picture that I found in the flea market. I just thought it was great. He's a handsome guy. It was in a kind of terrible frame, a really nasty gold painted frame. So I took it out that frame, put it in this simple pale green frame, and it made the perfect spot on the backsplash of the kitchen. At this end of the counter, again, a really great vintage portrait that I found in a flea market. I love this vintage storage jar that I keep my tea in. I drink a lot of tea. It's made to look like a bird cage with a bird in it, and that's another piece that I found on travels to Palm Beach. And then this little lamp, I love this little pottery lamp. This was a piece that I found in the flea markets in Paris, and then I put this shade on it, rewired it with this really great fabric wrap cord. I love to use fabric wrap cord on lamps, especially when you take a vintage lamp and rewire it. Just makes it feel a little bit more special, a little bit more couture. So yeah, this is a great little like end of the counter that keeps it fun, keeps it casual. So when I was looking, I really wanted a one-bedroom apartment, but in my price bracket and the neighborhood, I ended up with an alcove studio. And when I saw the alcove, I was a little bit like worried about it, but then I had a brainwave, and I've kind of always throughout my career been a little bit known for tenting rooms or draping rooms. I really like drapery, and this alcove studio, this alcove bedroom was the perfect opportunity to do one of those moments where I drape the entire room out and embrace the fact that it doesn't have windows, embrace the fact that it's a slightly dark corner of the apartment, and make it cozy and comfortable and a little bit of a refuge from a long day when you're curling up in bed at night. I never wanted to close it off completely because it is an alcove and there are no windows, but I wanted to give it some separation. So there I used the drapery to divide that space. And the room itself is a natural color drapery and very calm and zen-like. But on the outside and in the hallway, I used a really vibrant stripe with some fringe on the bottom of it to make a little bit of a moment. I'm obsessed with stripes and love stripes, and I wanted to make that little bit of a moment. Here we are in the entry foyer. It's small but perfectly formed. Starting off with a Fornasetti umbrella stand. This is one of my favorite pieces. I love Fornasetti, incredibly inspired by his work. It's something we use a lot and reference a lot at Jonathan Adler. We certainly often use pieces in our interior design projects. So that's a top 10 favorite piece, I'd say, in my apartment. I wanted to divide off, you'll see in a moment, the bedroom, which is right here, the alcove. And I wanted to divide that off. So I had these drapes made in this stripe. Again, it was taking the color that walls are, but then adding in a slightly contrasting chartreuse, and then adding a fringe to the bottom of those just because why not? A little bit of glamour. This rug is a find from Etsy. It was a relatively inexpensive rug that I purchased on Etsy from Morocco. I just love the colors. And again, it was about sort of taking those stripes and doing something similar on the floor and reflecting that. Over here, this is my entry console. This is a much needed piece of storage in a small apartment. There's a lot of stuff crammed in there. But then there's this little vignette going on here, which is this mixture of vintage paintings that I found, this fabulous little pocket watch mirror, and then this amazing Grace Jones vase, which was made by a friend and co-worker of mine, Edwin. I love this piece. I love Grace Jones. I think she's incredible. And I think this is a really beautiful piece of artistry. Walking down the hallway, we have a couple of bits of art. This is an amazing Vasarely print. I'm a big fan of Vasarely. I love op art. This is a really inspirational thing for me and the work we do at Jonathan Adler. It's really about the play of shapes and color. And I particularly love this color palette on this one. I thought it worked really well in the apartment. So I saw this one in the flea market and kind of had to have it. On this side, we have a really tall ladder-backed Italian chair. This is a great little moment. It's in the entryway, so it's where I sit to put my shoes on or take them off. I often walk in and just throw my coat on the back here. And then just above it is a portrait of my grandmother, taken by my grandfather many years ago. So this is the alcove bedroom. It has no windows. It's an alcove. I really wanted to make it feel warm and cozy, give it some architecture and make it a little bit unexpected. So I draped the room out in this neutral drapery to give it some coziness, to make it feel warm, make it feel comfortable, and give it some much needed architecture for the white box that it just was. It also meant that I could conceal a little area over there that has a closet in it. I wanted an upholstered bed because I wanted to feel comfortable. I love the palm leaf. I just thought it was a really great way to add a bit of life and a bit of color and texture to this room, even though the rest of it's kind of neutral. Either side of the bed, we have these Talitha nightstands from Jonathan Adler. This is an incredible technique where, done in India, where metal sheet is taken and hand hammered over the form of the furniture, creating this amazing texture and pattern on it. They also give me a great amount of storage. Couple of pieces of art in this room. Again, another Vasarely print, really inspired by that. I love the way that this one creates this sort of like vortex of an eye that you're drawn into above the bed. And then a vintage portrait hung over here. Again, another flea market find above a little tiny vintage Italian chair. The rug is a custom rug from our Peruvian workshops at Jonathan Adler. We make these incredible flat woven rugs in Peru. They're really tough wearing, and we have a number of great patterns, but this one was one of my favorite, and I did it in this custom colorway for this room. The best thing about an alcove bedroom is that it's cozy and quiet. Like, it's at the back of my apartment, it's not near the windows at the front. And with all this drapery, it makes it silent. I guess the worst thing about it is in the morning, I love to fling open the curtains and see light and have that brightness, so you don't get that in an alcove bedroom. But I just walk out into the living room and do that instead. So I'm creative director at Jonathan Adler. I've been with Jonathan and the company for 20 years nearly now. And I started as an intern in the interior design division. I moved to New York when I was 25 years old, and I was shopping one day in Barnes & Noble, and I picked up Jonathan's first book and I opened it there and then in the store, and out loud I said there, I want to work with this guy. Fate kind of colluded and things happened and some friends of friends talked, and I ended up as an intern in the interior design division. And from there, I've worked all across the company in many different areas and different departments. And now I'm creative director across the brand. I oversee the look and feel of the brand through all our different channels. But the primary focus and the largest part of my career is focusing on and developing and creatively directing, alongside Jonathan, the interior design division. My day-to-day is kind of hectic. My calendar's always full. I do spend the majority of my time working with my interior design team. So I'll spend some time working with them, concepting things, reviewing drawings, developing projects, touching base on where we are in projects, looking at new projects and potential projects, and working with a business development person to bring those projects in. I will then maybe have a couple of meetings that are to do with visual merchandising for our stores, I might be in a product review to review some of our products with our design division. And at some point I'll touch base with Jonathan. We'll talk about what's coming up, what we're working on. We'll discuss some creative direction on things. We'll talk about what we think is coming down the pipeline, and touch base and chat about all the things that are happening in the day and that week and that month and that year. So I've been working with Jonathan for 20 years now, and it's been an incredible journey. Jonathan is a creative genius. It was his genius that drew me to working for this company and working with him and for him for such a long time. And a big part of what I do now is to grow what he founded and what he came up with, and he still does to this day and continues to do so, but it's my job to keep that going and to bring it to even more people and to grow the company by bringing his vision to so many more people. I think for people that want to, it's a really difficult industry to enter these days. I think there's a lot of competition. You have to have a lot of skills, way more skills than I ever had when I first entered this industry. My technical skills were really not there, but I had a vision and I had a passion. I think it's important today for young people that want to enter into interior design or any of the sort of creative industries around the home, to A, have those technical skills to learn some of those things, but B, also have a point of view. I think it's really important to find something that you're inspired by and not just sort of like, oh, I like this or I like that, but have an idea about what you're inspired by and why you're inspired by it. So maybe you need to get to some museums, you need to go and look at historical houses, whatever it is, go and find it, what it is that inspires you and what you have a passion for. And it will really help you both directly and indirectly in designing for the future, because it gives you a point of view and you're not just pulling things from the ether and deciding you like this color because you like this color. You are like, you're looking at something and you're like, I like this color because I'm inspired by the Art Deco period and I think that brings this from that, or whatever it is, find your passion. So last but not least is the bathroom. It's a small space, but I wanted to make it feel special still. So I took this giant engraving of a neoclassical scene, blown up as wallpaper, put it on this wall. It's also on this wall over here. It was a great way of just adding something interesting to this space, giving a little bit of surprise. Bathrooms are not a space you spend a huge amount of time in, so they are a space you can take a little bit of risk with sometimes. Add something surprising, add something fun and interesting, something that people are gonna raise an eyebrow to when they walk in. I paired that with this giant painting, which is a really simple kind of pop art painting, this color of purple and green. And then I didn't have that much storage in here, so I added these fantastic cartel units for storing stuff in. There's no vanity in this bathroom, which if I was redesigning this bathroom from scratch and it wasn't a rental, I would definitely put a vanity in here. So these are a great way of just adding some storage, adding a surface as well to put things on, because you have this suspended sink which doesn't have a huge amount of counter space. So these were a really great way of doing that, and I decided to mix this olive green and the gold just to add a little bit of of an accent color and a little bit of glam in here. So I've been in this apartment since 2018, so doing the math, it's just over 6-7 years. I love being in Flatiron district. I love that I can walk to the places I love to go. I can walk to work. I can walk to the places I like to shop. Can walk to the places I like to eat. I can walk to the places and see the people that I love. So that's really important. Location's really important. But then the space itself is very much home. It makes me happy. It's the place where I've gathered all the things that I love and the things that make me think about all the places I love too. I think that's really important in your curation of the things you have in your home. So I've got a lot of things from travels and family gifts and things that remind me of my childhood or my home, or things that remind me of the places I've been. And I think that's really important too, because your home should make you feel happy. It's obviously a place that you spend a lot of time, but I think it's this place where you feel most comfortable. You're surrounded by things that make you feel good, and things that inspire you. So even though you're looking at them every day, you should always surround yourself by things that make you feel like you want more of them, or you want to look at them more or find more, or whatever it is, you should be inspired by them. At Jonathan Adler, we have a motto that is, we won't make anything unless it's something your heirs will fight over. And I think that's really important. I think that's really true. It's about having things that you deem not necessarily monetarily important or valuable, but they're valuable to you because you just love them, or they may have an emotional connection, whatever it is. Surround yourself by things that are valuable to you. Thanks for coming, Homeworthy. It's been great having you here. See you soon.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.